Okay, so how does our community help us get around? I think is the main question we're going to be looking at today. And we're going to revisit what community means. So I would normally say talk to a partner, but obviously you don't have a partner. So we're just going to be talking about what community means to us. So have a think, what does community mean? And that's absolutely correct. If you said that community is the area that surrounds you and the people that are in it. So our community at Art Franklin is all the people in our school, and the wider community would be all of the people that live in our area and help and work alongside us. So we have the public, and public are just ordinary people. They're just citizens of an area. And there are places that you can go where the public or just everyday citizens are able to visit. So can you think of any places that are for the public, places that anybody can go to? Let's have a look. So one place that the public can go to is the library. So if you've ever been to a library, which I'm hoping you all have, the library is a public building, which means anybody can enter and visit. Public toilets, not such a glamorous topic, but yes, they again are for everybody. They're for the ordinary people. The public are allowed to use the public toilets. And finally, we have the public parks. And we've got lots of parks in London, one of which we'll be focusing on in a lot more detail tomorrow when we look at the history of Queen's Park. So this is our public spaces that we're looking at. But today we're not looking at public spaces, we're focusing on public transport, which means transport for ordinary people. Now, public transport is available across London, but what type of transport can we travel on? And transport is just a way we get around. Have a think. So, London is one of the largest, busiest capital cities on the planet, with millions of people using London's incredible transport network to travel in, out and around the city each day. I wonder if you remembered that we have buses. Metroline Travel Limited provide the bus service in our local area on behalf of Transport for London, and you may see TfL or Transport for London written in many different places across the city. And our transport line for buses are based in Cricklewood, so not that far from school. Around 7,500 buses carry more than 6 million people around Greater London every weekday. So that's every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. So let's learn a little bit more about buses. Well, London buses through time. In 1829, the first bus ran between Paddington and Bank and was pulled by 3 horses. In 1907, even up until 1907, London bus routes all had a different colour. And in 1914, during World War I, buses transported the carrier pigeons used to send vital messages over long distances. The river bus. The river bus is another mode of transport. The Uber boat by Thames Clipper stops at 23 piers along the Thames between Woolwich, Royal Arsenal Pier in the east and Putney Pier in the west. And services run from early in the morning until late at night, 7 days a week. And at the bottom of this, you can see the route that these boats take. The Tube, DLR, London Overground and Tram. First opened in 1863, London's famous tube network is a very popular way to get around the city. 1.3 billion people a year use the tube, and I'm one of them. I use the tube to get to work every day. I wonder which areas of the tube network that you have used before. Here is a big map of the Tube, DLR, London Overground. Can you spot Kensal Rise or Kensal Green? You may like to pause this video to see if you can find them. Now that you've found them, how might you travel from White City down here to Kensal Green? How could you get to Kensal Green? And pause this video when you've had a look. The Emirates airline, another way to travel and more recently available in London. The Emirates airline crosses the River Thames between Greenwich Peninsula and the Royal Docks. and it's just 5 minutes from the O2 by North Greenwich Tube Station. The cabins arrive every 30 seconds and the flights are approximately 10 minutes long, and they're able to take you over this part of the Thames River. You can see here the route that they take. And I know that some of you have already experienced travelling via the Emirates airline Santander Cycles. Before we start this section, what are the benefits of hiring a bike? Have a think. Why might we want to hire a bike rather than take a different mode of transport? You may have said that because travelling by bike is better for the environment, and you'd be right. This is using our own manpower. We are using our own fuel to get ourselves from A to B without using any electric or fossil fuels. These bikes are available to hire for a rate across the city, but we'll talk more about prices in a little while. Taxis and Ubers. Among London's taxis are the famous black cabs. Their drivers spend up to 4 years learning the knowledge, which involves memorising loads of different routes and locations in London. These are private companies and the journeys are not shared with other members of the public, so these are not part of the public transport network. There are more than 19,000 black cabs in London, so although they are a way of moving around the city, they are not public transport. Fun fact, black cabs have a tall, rounded shape, which was designed, oh, there's a couple of spelling errors there, hang on, a tall, rounded shape, which was designed for men's top hats in the 18th century. So how much does public transport cost? And does everybody have to pay? What do you think? You may like to pause this video. Well, on the buses, on the Emirates airline and on the tube, transport for children under 10 is free. On the Emirates, it's only children under 5. Why do you think transport for children might be free? Have a think. Transport is also free for people who are aged over 60. In London, buses, tubes and trams are free for people aged over 60, which means they no longer have to pay.